Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. Several months ago, we posted a video on how we were going to help wounded, disabled vets with woodworking deal with some of the problems they're having to live with. You may remember we had the back cover of the Fine Woodworking Tool Guide where I introduced you to Jesse and we talked about what it had done for him. Well, to give you a little follow-up, here's what happened. In November, because of the generosity of several donors, we were able to raise enough funds to bring 7 wounded vets into Niagara Falls for this week-long workshop. It was absolutely fantastic. These guys worked 5 12-hour days. In fact, I'm going to tell you who they were. We had Andy Nichols from Texas, Rick Blair from North Carolina, Marshall Rommel came from Washington State, Philip Gustafson from New York, Brad Matichuk from Wisconsin, Rob White from North Carolina, and Greg Hairston from Tennessee. I want to tell you a little bit about the results. I really didn't know what to expect. Jake, my son, came and helped me. In addition to bringing them up, we actually were able to provide them each with about $2,000 worth of tools that they were able to take home so that they could kickstart this new, I wouldn't call it a career, but this new diversion. Actually, Andy coined the phrase distractive therapy, being able to turn to something like hand tool woodworking to help alleviate the pain. I got an Army hat from Philip. I want to show you some of the results. I'll just pick out a few. Philip Gustafson, this is his first dovetail. Now, I've been teaching this for a long time and get pretty good at judging what kind of results we're going to get out of the class, but this one surprised me. This is probably and quite possibly the best first dovetail that I've ever witnessed. Now, funny little story, when I have these guys start their first dovetail, we go through a series of exercises. And one of the things that they have to do once they've got a little bit of time spent using the saw and chisels and fret saw, they've got to make 6 perfect cuts on the dovetail board. That means the cuts across the end of the board must be perpendicular. I'm not so concerned about the slope. That can be off a little bit. And normally it takes 7, 8, 10 tries before they actually get it right and then they can proceed with the joint. Well, within about 10 minutes, Philip said, I think I got mine. And I remember thinking to myself, nobody gets it that quick. I went over and I looked and holy smokes, it was right on. So I said, well, you just practice a little bit more while everybody else gets a chance to catch up. But anyway, as he was able to proceed, unfortunately, he cut off the tails and left the spots in between. So he had to do it again. So really, this was his first dovetail. This was his first attempt, but this was his first completed one. And I'm going to ask Frick, my cameraman, to come in and take a really close look at that. Now, what you need to know is this comes right from the saw. They're not allowed to do any test fitting, and there's no pairing with the chisel. In other words, they have to lay out the joint, saw it, trace the opposite side of the joint, saw it, glue it, and put it together. And that was phenomenal. And thank you, Philip, because he actually let me take it. Another one here, if you want a few more. This is Marshall's, and he had 4 tails in there instead of 3, but another great example of really good handwork. And all the guys had a great time. We saw great results out of the entire week. We had a local newspaper came by. If you want to look this up, it's Niagara This Week. And they wrote a one-page story about what we were doing. They highlighted Andy Nichols. Now, Andy was a lieutenant colonel. And of the 7 vets that were there, Andy was probably the most severely injured. His Humvee was hit, blown in the air, came down nose first, and Andy busted just about everything that he owns. And he's not confined to a wheelchair, but spent most of his time in a wheelchair. He was able to get up and work around the bench a little bit. But 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, that would be tough on anybody. There was only a couple of times that Andy had to be taken over to the hotel so he could lay down for an hour or so to rest, but he'd be right back at it and stayed as late as everybody else. I really tip my hat to them. It was absolutely fantastic. So going forward, what are we going to do? Well, we've got it planned for April. We're going to try to run 3 classes this time. We need your help. We need your support. We're going to start a GoFundMe where we are able to really provide this to as many wounded, disabled vets as possible. I've had multiple of these guys come back and tell me, yes, this is something that actually helps ease the pain. It distracts. It's occupying their hands and their mind. It's quiet. In fact, I have a friend that labels it quiet woodworking. We do it all with hand tools. We have a fund whereby every time we sell a saw, any of my dovetail saws, crosscut, tenon, whatever, we'll take 10% of that and we put it into a tool fund to help get these guys some decent tools. If you want to help, you're welcome to. You can contact me directly, Rob@RobCosman.com. You can visit our site, robsworkshop.com, or my commercial site, RobCosman.com. I want to tip my hat to these guys. They really knocked it out of the park. We had a great time. Jake and I talked about it afterwards. It's probably the best week I've ever had in my woodworking career, and I thank them for it. So we're looking forward to doing a whole lot more of this. I'd like to see this happen 2 or 3 times a year and help as many of these guys as we can. They are most deserving. Thank you for your support.